Just one more time. 13.6, apply the law of cosines. So obviously you have the formulas. These formulas are more complicated than the law of sines formulas. I would assume that you probably don't even really need to memorize law of sines at this point because you've used it enough that you probably just know it. Law of cosines, I would recommend. You don't need to memorize every single one. It's kind of like the area formula for law of sines. You just know the pattern, and it makes sense. It's one side is equal to the other two sides, like squared, added together, minus those two times those two sides in the cosine of whatever angle you're given. And then you also have the manipulation of the formulas. Again, I wouldn't focus on memorizing what the manipulation is. I would just know how to manipulate it, and then you would be able to solve it. But if you struggle to manipulate equations, then it might be best to just memorize it. Then the area formula, obviously we have that as well. So the first problems, much like the previous section, are going to ask you, they're going to give you a situation, and we're going to say what we would use in that scenario. So number 4, they tell us we have angle, side, angle. And so if they give us that, they want to know if we're using law of sines or law of cosines. So they're not actually asking you how many, but they're just wanting to know which thing would we use. So if you have angle, side, angle, is it law of sines or law of cosines? Yep. Law of sines. 6, side, angle, side. Yep, law of cosines. This is the one that you need to make sure that you watch out for, because in law of sines, we were either given, it was either side, angle, or it was, two scenarios that had two angles given to you on one side. Now you have two sides and an angle, but it's got to be the angle that's between the two sides. So just make sure you pay attention to that, and so that you make the right choice on what you're solving for. Number 8, they're going to give us a triangle. And this is A, B, and C. This is 9, this is 35 degrees, and this is 7. So looking at this, I have side, angle, side. So that means that I'm going to use law of cosines to solve this. If it's helpful, you can obviously write the letters here of what all of these things are, so you know what you're solving for. I set these up the same way that I do the other ones that we've been doing, where I have all my information here so I can make sure I've solved everything completely. So angle A was 35 degrees, side C is 9, and side B is 7. So the other advantage to setting this up, if this was one where they didn't draw the triangle for you, is that you would pretty quickly see that it can't be side angle, because for it to be side angle, you have to have an angle and a side pair, and we don't have anything that's paired together here on this one. So at this point, the only thing that I can solve for is side A with what I'm given. So I'm going to use the law of cosines to solve for side A. So that's using the first formula, which is the one that's a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of A. And so I'm going to go ahead, and when I write this, I'm going to go ahead and write the square root of everything, so that I just have A is the square root of all of this instead. So I'll have 7 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 7 times 9 times the cosine of 35. When you type this into your calculator, I would strongly encourage that you add, I'm going to put it as a bracket just so we can see it, but a parentheses there where I've put the brackets, okay? Because otherwise it might not do what you think it's going to do as far as solving. So you can put all this under the square root, and it will do it for you. But the reason I say to do the parentheses is our calculator, while it's smart, is not necessarily as smart as it needs to be, and so you could get the wrong answer if you're not careful with how you type this stuff in. Again, make sure you're still in degree mode. I mean, unless you've been going back and doing problems from previous sections, you should be still from yesterday, but these are degree problems. Do what? Yes. All right. So side A is 5. So now you can either use the law of cosines formula to solve for an angle, or because I now have a side and angle pair, I can go back and use the law of sines formulas, which are easier. So I would do that one. That's my personal recommendation. So we always want to do the largest side first. And the reason I say that is because what ends up happening, not typically with these ones, but when the ones where we have side, 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 is if we don't start with the largest side, sometimes mathematically you get a triangle that doesn't make sense, right? Because we talked about the other day that the largest side should have the largest angle. If you don't do it in that order, sometimes it actually gives you false information. Now, if you know you've solved it correctly and you realize, like, oh, I started with, the smaller side or whatever, and your angles don't make sense, just put a little note like, this doesn't make sense because the largest side isn't with the largest angle. Don't go back and redo the whole problem over that, okay? But for it to make sense, you need to start with the largest one. So we have sine of C over 9 is equal to the sine of 35 over 5. We're going to multiply by 9, and then we're going to take the inverse sine of this. So C is the inverse sine of 9 times the sine of 35 over 5. I assume somebody was typing in it. I don't care who.
It says error.
It says error?
53.41.
It does say error.
Okay, if yours is saying error, how did you type it in?
Not exactly.
Like, did you use the fraction bar?
No.
No.
Did you close the parentheses of the 35?
It says error.
I did B instead, and I cannot find
I closed the parentheses.
it.
I closed both parentheses.
It comes out as an error. Yeah.
What was it supposed to be in degree?
You are in degree, so it
Oh.
should be fine.
And I got an error for C, but it worked out fine for
Did yours come out?
See something? Oops.
Yeah, you have to do B and then just add those two and subtract away. That would give you 92 degrees.
Alpha y equals.
Do second alpha and then y equals. Second alpha.
mine does
Yeah, that's what she's working on
What?
right now. What's happening? Is it just continual erroring?
Let me make sure I'm in the right mode. Okay.
Hey, you let him use your neato? I think I just.
Did anybody's work right away when they typed it in?
Mine said error.
Alright, I'm gonna try something. Sometimes the calculator freaks out of doing everything at once, so I'm gonna see if that's maybe the problem.
I did the 9 sine 35 divided by 5, and then whenever I got from that, I multiplied that by inverse sine, and I still got it.
Ooh, bomb.
So, like, I split it into a bunch of steps.
I forget you put your stuff. Oh, you still
That is so weird.
candy canes.
Okay. I don't know why I did that. I cannot figure out what's going on. Normally, if you do it in steps, then it goes back and it works, but it's not working right now.
Does the book say that C is 92? Or, yeah, 92?
What number is this? 8?
Mhm.
C is 94.
Oh.
Well, so we.
Oh. Well, then I know why it's not working. Because remember, inverse sine can only produce values from negative 90 to positive 90. So if that number is bigger than 90, it's not going to work. Normally, this would work. I don't know what's going on. If that happens, then you're just going to have to go back and do B the other way.
B is 51.
So we would have to do like the sine of B over 7 is equal to the sine of 35 over 5. Do the same thing, but B is the inverse sine of 7 sine of 35 over 5. So if you get an error, check and make sure you did parentheses and everything correctly, but
Yeah, I got 53.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got.
You got 53?
Yeah, why does it have this? But then the book says. I'm so.
so then wait, what did we get for C if we do it that way? Just ignore that for right now. So 180 minus 53 minus 35, what do we get?
It's 92, but the book said it was 94.
It's because we did it in the other order. So okay, so then here's the other thing. This is why you have to do 13.4 before we do the rest of this. If we used law of cosines, we would end up taking the inverse cosine to solve for the angle. Cosine inverse goes on the top, so it goes from 0 to 180. So it can produce a bigger angle. So probably 9 times out of 10, you can do law of sines and it's going to give you the value that works. This happens to be obtuse because of this, which is why it's not working.
Great.
So if it gives you an error, then just try the other one or use the law of cosines formula. I would just do the other one, but it's going to be off by a little bit, okay? So what I'm going to tell you is, on a quiz and a test, if your answer's off by a little bit, but your work makes sense, I'm going to give it to you, okay? Because if you do it in the wrong order, like I mentioned earlier, it's going to give you the wrong answer as well, which is most likely what happened here because C needed to be found first. But it didn't work with the inverse sine, so we have no choice but to go to B and do them out of order. The next one should work, and it should be fine.
Hopefully.
Well, the next one's going to be a side problem, so we'll go through and see. I don't know if classes have just never pointed that out to me before or what, but I've never had them tell me that didn't work before, so. All right, 14. This one, they don't draw the triangle for you, but they tell us all the values. So we have side A is 38, side B is 31, and side C is 35. So I'm just going to set up over here for my angles. All right, so I'm going to, I need to do the largest side first. So that means I need to start with this one, okay? So that means I need to find angle A, right? That's what I have to be able to find. So, starting here, so we have, if you use the already manipulated, where'd my paper go? The already manipulated formula, we would have A is equal to the inverse cosine of A squared minus B squared minus C squared over negative 2BC. I showed in the video how to manipulate correctly, when y'all were watching it, it showed you how to manipulate it. Okay. Well, if you need to go back to figure out how to manipulate it, go back and watch because it should have been in there. All right, so now I'm going to plug this stuff in. So I've got A is the inverse cosine of 38 squared minus 31 squared minus 35 squared over negative 2 times 31 times 35. Either use alpha y equals to create a fraction or use a lot of parentheses. The negative signs do not get squared, so if you're going to use just parentheses instead, first of all, you got to put the whole denominator in parentheses if you're going to do it that way. And you really need to put the top in parentheses as well so that it does it in the correct order. You would need to basically do that for it to do it.
What?
Then it's just taking a few tries to get it to actually, do what it's supposed to.
Yeah, me too.
We need to do it.
No, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you probably have to break it up a lot.
Alright, so look, so this is what I would do. Inverse cosine, I would have that show up on my screen. Then I would hit alpha y equals, that's going to bring up a fraction. I would strongly encourage you to use this method, at least on these ones. It will make your life easier. You won't have to type it in as many times. And then I've got 38 squared minus 31 squared minus 35 squared. Then I don't need all the parentheses on the bottom. Make sure you use the negative sign at the bottom under the 3 and not the minus sign. 2 times 31 times 35. Close that off so it should look something like that. And then it's going to give you your value. We're always going to go to the nearest whole number like we did with the last section. So it should be 70 degrees.
And then can we use something easier? Thank you.
So you can keep using law of cosines if you want, but part of the reason that we do the largest side first using the law of cosines is to eliminate what happened with us in the last problem, that if you don't, let me go back. Law of cosines, inverse cosine produces a value that's 0 to 180. The triangle's total angle values can't exceed 180, so I know that that can take care of an obtuse angle value if it happens. Once I have one that's the biggest one, whether it's obtuse or not, that doesn't really matter, but everyone after that has to be smaller. So I will be able to use law of sines thereafter on these ones. Okay? The previous problem, we had been given a small angle, so we were finding a really big angle, but we wouldn't have known that at the beginning. We wouldn't have known that it was going to be obtuse without just trying law of sines. So at this point, I would jump to law of sines, solve for the next biggest one, which would be 35. So we'll have the sine of c over 35 is equal to the sine of 70 over 38. And again, because we're rounding to the nearest whole number, your answers might be a little off from the book. That is okay. That is going to happen. Okay? So we have c is the inverse sine of 35, sine of 70 over 38. And what did you say we get?
60.
Oh, it's 7. So 60 degrees for that one. And then now I can go through and easily find b by just doing 180 minus 70 minus 60. And we get what?
50.
Oh, it's 7.
So 50 degrees for that one.
5, 4, 3, 2, 0. Oh my gosh. Oh my.
So if it's not written somewhere in your notes, I would write somewhere on your paper. Always start with the largest side. It's going to make your life way easier if you put that down and remember that now.
even think about exams.
Like I had.
16.
Stop laughing.
I'm going to go ahead and set up everything here. Angle B is 63 degrees. Side A is 29 and side C is 38.
Great.
So I can see I have side, angle, side. So I'm going to be solving for side B first. I've got to get something with its pairing. So we have B is the square root. I usually go ahead and just go straight to this method here of A squared plus B squared, or sorry, C squared. We're solving for B. Plus C squared minus 2AC cosine B. So technically the formula is B squared is equal to all the stuff without the radical, but I go ahead and get it by itself. So B is the square root of 29 squared plus 38 squared minus, make sure you use parentheses on this part if you're typing it in or when you're typing it in, 2 times 29 times 38 times the cosine of 63.
Should be 36.
Yes.
Sorry, I couldn't find my thingy button. What?
Should be what? 36, yeah.
All right, so at this point, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to find the largest side. So 38. Hopefully, it's not going to give us something that's obtuse.
Please.
It's not.
Hold on. I'm just going to make sure. I'm going to look at the answer in the book. It is not, so we're good.
Yeah, we're all good.
36.
Just so that we don't waste time.
63.
So sine of C over 38 is equal to sine of 63 over 36. I'm okay if you're familiar enough with the formula at this point that you go straight to the next step of saying like C is the inverse sine of 38 sine of 63 over 36. If you feel like you can go straight to there without having to write the first step, that's fine. But if you don't feel confident to do that, then just keep going like normal. Do we have an answer for this one yet? If not, it's okay. I just wondered.
Y'all have like calculators up your butts or something. Y'all move too fast.
And then A is 47.
So
Oh, it's 70.
for A, we do 180 minus 70 minus 63. You said it was what, 37? 47.
I'm adding that to our notes. Oh, it's 70.
7.
So then 47 degrees there.
Gosh, 70.
Oh, it's 70.
So again, at a quick glance, my values make sense. My biggest side has the biggest angle. And going down,
Oh, it's 70. I could food lion.
do we feel like we need to see another side one?
No.
Are we sure?
Maybe we can just do another one.
Okay.
Better safe than sorry, guys.
Well, nobody else said anything, so.
This is our last section, so you also have tomorrow to work. So,
Alright.
and then because I'm not gonna quiz you on Monday on this stuff.
Fantastic.
I'll be right.
All right, 18. Well, we also have the area problems, but they're quick and easy again. So, all right, side A is 23, side B is 24, and side C is 20. So we're solving for
Swear.
the angles.
This is messing me up. B equals 24. C equals. And then it's.
So which one do we have to solve for?
The biggest one. So B.
So B is where we're going to start. Now, I'm going to show the manipulation here just in case you're not familiar with this. So I'm going to go to the one that's B squared is equal to A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cosine B.
Oh.
And I'm going to show you how to manipulate it again, okay? Because in case it for some reason wasn't in the notes, or those of you that don't actually listen to them that way, you know. Anyways, all right, so I'm going to subtract the a squared and the c squared at the same time. So I have b squared minus a squared minus c squared is equal to negative 2ac cosine b. Then at this point, I'm ultimately trying to solve for angle b, so I'm going to divide everything by the negative 2ac. So I have b squared minus a squared minus c squared over negative 2ac, which is equal to cosine of b.
The opposite cosine.
But to do that, I'm not going to rewrite the whole thing. I'm just going to take the inverse as what undoes this. So we have the inverse cosine of all of this is equal to angle b.
Can we just, are we allowed to just write that?
Yes.
At the very end? We don't have to do all the.
You don't need to show me the manipulations,
Oh,
no.
okay.
As a matter of fact, if you remember, I told you that on quizzes and tests, I'll check these formulas for you because I don't want you to go through the whole quiz and test having the wrong formula. When you actually know what you're doing, you just forgot the formula. But what I will do is I will also check the manipulated ones. So I would recommend, while you only have to write out one of them, I would recommend you write all of them because you don't know which one you're going to be solving for in a problem later on in the quiz or the test. I would recommend you write all of them, and if you have them all, I check them all. Okay? That way you can make sure that you have it.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm solving for b, obviously. So I'm going to plug in. We have the inverse cosine of, I don't even know what the values were, 24 squared minus 23 squared minus 20 squared all over negative 2 times 23 times 20.
No, like.
What'd you say?
Does it equal 67?
No, it's the entire freaking paragraph.
No, it's 0.4.
Actually, it's 67.
It is 60.
Oh, you did.
The book says it's 67.4, so I'm assuming that's what y'all had too. So, all right, so angle B is 67 degrees.
Okay.
So then I'm going to go to the next biggest side, so I'm going to solve for A. I'm going to go up here and do it so that I don't have to keep scrolling down. So that means that I've got the sine of A over 23. Again, if you want to go straight to just A equals, you can do that. But the sine of 67 over 24. So A is the inverse sine of 23 times the sine of 67 over 24. What'd you say it is?
The 62.
So 62 degrees for that one. And then, obviously, easily find C. 180 minus 62 minus 67.
51.
It's how much?
51, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm just looking because the book has that C is 50.4, but I was like, okay, because they're using it, that's why I said, like, are you sure? Because I just wanted to make sure that we
I
were
was scared
had rounded correctly. So again, like I said, your answers are going to be slightly off from the book because we're rounding, and that's okay. If you're off by like a degree or two, don't stress about it. It's okay. It's no big deal. If you do it in the wrong order, just write a nice little note and be like, my values don't make sense because don't redo the whole problem. I mean, look over and make sure you didn't like do something like majorly wrong mathematically. But if you know that you did the process right and you're like, oh, I just forgot I did it in the wrong order, don't stress over it. Just write me a nice little note and I'll take off for it.
Is area easy?
Yes.
No, for this.
All right, the area problems using Heron's area formula. 24. We have A is 12, B is 7, and C is 8. Now, oftentimes people ask me, well, how do I know which area formula to use? You know how you tell? This one doesn't give me any angles. So I have no choice. It's all sides. So, some books, I think the pre-cal book actually does all the area problems in one section. And that's when people are like, I don't know how to tell. I'm like, it's really easy. They give you an angle, you got to use the first area formula. They don't give you an angle, you got to use this one. So, the first thing we have to do is find S, which is half of all the sides added together. So, half of 12 plus 7 plus 8. Obviously, normally I'm like, do things in fractions, like whatever, improper fractions. Do not do this in improper fractions. Give it as a decimal because it's something, it's either 0.0 or 0.5.
Calculators.
So 13.5. Now to find area, the formula is the square root of, I'm gonna write in the numbers, but s times s minus a times s minus b times s minus c. So we have 13.5 times 13.5 minus 12 times 13.5 minus 7 times 13.5 minus 8.
Oh my.
Make sure if you're not going to work in steps that you do this problem with parentheses. You can plug the whole thing in at once, but you need the parentheses inside or it's going to mess it up.
Okay.
How do you look confused? You look confused.
Oh no, I was looking at Sophia's calculator. I was confused what she was doing. Oh, I was trying something.
That's the S twice, yeah.
That's what I got too.
27. Now, what I'm going to tell you is, it's kind of weird, but in the book, they don't put any kind of units on the area problems. I may have mentioned this the other day with other problems. I don't remember. If you write units squared, that's fine. If you don't, not a big deal because they're not giving you units. But if you look at 21 through 23 where they actually have drawn the triangle for you and they give you the information, they do write units squared. I don't know why they do it when they draw the triangle versus when they just give you the side lengths, but just be aware of that. Okay, this isn't the book that does it. Do we need to see another area one or are we good? Good. One thing I'm just going to throw out there as a reminder from geometry that really doesn't apply with our textbook, but for next year there are problems in the pre-cal book that do this. Remember that the sum of any two sides of a triangle have to be greater than the third side, right? It can't be less than or it doesn't make a triangle. Our book, they all make triangles, so you don't really need to watch for that, but next year you will need to watch for that, so just make sure that like you don't forget those little details about triangles from geometry.
Alrighty.
All right, any questions? Are we good? Ready for problems?
Pretty good.
All right. 3, 5, 7. Those first three are just telling what law it is. They're not, so it's going to look like a lot, but it's not. 11, 13, 17, and then 2 area problems, 27 and 31.
We're gonna have a work day tomorrow.
Yes, so you'll have a work day tomorrow to work on these problems. That sounded like it hurt. And then on Monday, we'll do review for a quiz on Tuesday. And then we'll have Wednesday and Thursday to review for the test next Friday. Okay, so, anyways, just be aware of that and all that.
Good with that.
On the quiz, you might have a unit circle for extra credit. I may just give you one for the sake of time. We'll see. I'll let you know on Monday what I'm going to do with that. On the test, you will have the opportunity to fill one out for extra credit, though, so make sure you don't forget your unit circle. And then in Chapter 14, I give you one for the whole chapter because there's way too much going on for me to have you fill one out. Somebody just, like, die?
Yeah.